This is the entrance to the Romanian Cinematic. We are in a hurry.
No, we stand in front. Do you want to stay up? Tell me, I don't know what part.
Типа, в Тиндере там как в когда ты его устанавливаешь. Нет. В смысле? Я зачем? Нет, зачем?
Q&A, o discuție cu Nikita în limba engleză și se pun două, trei întrebări pe care cine dorește poate întreba. So Nikita, thank you for the film and for coming here. And I'm curious about before getting to the film itself. I'm curious about your way to cinema because you're very young and you have already made 11 feature films or something like that, and in different genres. One is dialogue with Psycho by Hitchcock, another is a found footage film, you made a TikTok TV series. So I'm curious how someone, because we are at a time where people my age, your age, or how you were when you were younger, struggle for years to make a 10 minutes film. I'm like that. So for you, how was your way and how is your creation and influences? And I think I can use this microphone.
So if I understand correctly the question, what is the secret to my productivity?
No, and how was your personal way into cinema? Because I know you studied mathematics, you started making films when you were in high school, basically. No?
Yeah, but I was like always drawn to the camera. I was always liked the camera. And in our family, we didn't have a camera. We sometimes borrowed it from like other friends of family when we went on vacations, and nobody my parents didn't allow me to use the camera, and so I was always drawn to the camera. I was like, oh, can I film something? It was always very interesting to me.
Since you were very young.
Yeah. When I was like 3 years old or something, I was like, give me the camera.
So much younger than Spielberg, basically.
Yeah, maybe.
Starting.
So I always wanted to try the camera, to try filming something, and so I don't know how to explain it. It was just like a technological miracle, you know, like It's like can you ask like a young kid right now what first how did you get drawn to the iPad? But kids just naturally want to use the iPad. It's interesting. And
No, it is, but
camera was like that
I'm
for me.
47, so I saw a camera the first time when I was 20 something. So.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference. That's why maybe you like it wasn't that interesting. Or was it?
No, it was not, for sure. This is why I'm asking you questions.
Because when you're 20,000, you're already like skeptical. You're like, what is this new shit? It's not very like you almost don't want to admit that it's interesting because it's like new and you feel old when there are new things. And for me, like I saw the camera when I was like 3 and it was very interesting. Then you can film something and play back. It's interesting.
And when did you knew then that you want to pursue this thing?
But I mean,
Like as a filmmaker, I'm a filmmaker.
but like, I mean, pursue it is what? It's just my hobby.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not pursuing it seriously still, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I think since you made 11 feature films,
They're all very low effort. This is like barely a film. This is like a podcast. It's not different from Joe. Like people say, no, it's so impressive. It's in one take. But Joe Rogan podcast is also in one take. It's very impressive.
No, this is actually.
And he has like 2,000 movies that are 4 hours long and are shot in one take. So someone should give the Oscar to Joe Rogan.
Okay, and apart from that, which other influences you have for your films in general, for your podcast, so to speak?
Well, I mean, this is the only movie that's like a podcast. And the influences. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of influences, I guess, because I was always interested in like autobiographical, like auto-fiction movies, and I guess movies by like Kaveh Zahedi and by Naomi Kawase, but also like I don't know, like YouTube channels where people are talking about their relationships. Like there was like a podcast called "I Love You" by Alexander Dolgopolov, a stand-up comedian, and was talking about all their relationships on like the YouTube channel. So I guess.
And you mentioned in the discussion, if I can, the American mumblecore and independent films for which you have a passion. So.
Yeah, I do like American movies because like in America actually there's a lot of movies that are made like with no budget or like with no funding, so to speak, because I guess you can include like talents and spare time in budget. They have like a value, but there is no monetary funding from like. And in Belarus there is no film fund, and in America like independent filmmakers also don't have like a film fund in the same sense that like Western developed countries like Romania and European Union have. So
we are very proud that you consider us to be the best.
No, but you're like in the West. If you look from Belarus, you're the West. You have it good here. You have like funding, and you go to Cannes Film Festival. No Belarusian has ever gone to Cannes or Venice, so you have a big cinema.
But you know, I'm always thinking, actually also historically, that it's interesting that you mentioned the American independent film, and you can go even more back to the historical avant-gardes, which were always, even for these poor, let's say, art expressions, were always in rich countries, while in poor countries, and I remember a discussion I had with some Bulgarian filmmakers a few years ago, and they were all depressed and waiting for years for film fund in their country to get money, like sometimes we do here. And someone like you, for me at least, I don't know, it's like a embodiment of the possibility of really making films, a certain type of films, of course, you cannot make everything, with basically nothing, or with very, very few.
Oh, you can make everything. I worked at a film studio with kids, with like 6 to 8 year olds, and 8 to 10 year olds, like different groups. And we were making films with kids. and they would write the screenplay themselves. They would like come up with costumes. So everything would be done by kids. Even sometimes the director of photography would be a kid, and they would come up with like plots, like weird ones about like a mystical dog that lives in the clouds and abducts children and makes them never leave again back to Earth. And so, but we would like shoot every plot that they come out. I never said to the kids like, oh no, it requires too big a budget. We cannot film this film about like underground dwarfs and magic. We can always film it. We just draw the backgrounds on paper and then like use I don't know the green screen.
No, I agree with you, and actually this is the lesson also from theater, because in theater you can do everything.
Yeah.
But in cinema still is this thing that you need, and sometimes of course maybe if you want to pay some people and you want to make it as a profession, you need money, and the moment you start paying the budgets go, and if you have co-productions the budgets go even higher. So it's really a kind of very idiotic thing, because I agree. I mean, and when I see your films, not only this, but all your films, all your films are exactly like that, like a clear expression of the possibilities of doing cinema.
But everyone is doing cinema like that.
I agree.
On the internet, like you have all these websites like YouTube or I don't know, like Instagram, and this Chinese one, the new one, TikTok, and they have like many movies, and people don't get any funding for them.
I agree.
They just create interesting stuff, and people watch it. And sometimes people prefer to watch like reels on Instagram. It's more interesting.
The cinema, I agree with this.
So what I'm saying is, it's not so special what I do. It's
no, I was
normal.
thinking, because it's such a gap that there is a Romanian filmmaker that we all, for our generation, was very important. But he's older than me, Nae Karanfil. I don't know if the name rings a bell.
What is the name?
Nae Karanfil.
Nae Karanfil?
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
And he had an interview. I quoted it a few times because I was impressed in a certain way, because he says, I wouldn't advise anybody today to make cinema because the magic is gone. Now everybody can take the phone and make a film. So do you feel like responsible
it's
for
a very elitist
yeah,
approach.
it is. You destroy this guy's sense of magic.
So he thought that the magic is that he's the only one who has access to the technical means of production.
Exactly.
So that's the magic.
Exactly.
Yes.
He said when we saw someone on the street shooting a film crew, for us, he says they were demigods. But now it's nothing, because everybody can do a film. Like
but it happened to other arts too. People got access to like paper, and everyone can write a book.
So do you think Madame de Sévigné said, I don't write anymore because now everybody has a piece of paper?
I don't know who Madame de Sévigné.
Well, whatever. Some writers.
Sorry.
Cervantes.
But I understand it. Yeah, I don't know if they said it. But the crazy thing is, not everyone writes books for some reason.
Yeah. So it's gonna be the same with cinema.
Somehow, not many people want to write it, and not many people want to like do paintings, even though a lot of them have access to paints.
Okay. I will have just two more questions regarding this film, and then I let the floor to the people here. One of the things I'm intrigued in the film from the formal point of view is, and I'm curious if it was, how much was planned into that, because I know you only shot one take, basically.
Yeah. I don't think Joe Rogan does multiple takes for his podcast. Are there any Joe Rogan fans? Does he do like 3 takes for his 4-hour-long podcasts? Just to check. Maybe let's do another one, he says, after a 4-hour-long talk.
No, but what I wanted to say is that I find that this situation with the billiard, with the snooker, and then with the walking to the dark parts, and then ending in the light parts of Minsk, and then in the subway, this created a kind of very cinematic effect. It's always
Yeah, because I think the Joe Rogan podcasts are very boring. I'm surprised that people even watch them. It's crazy. They just sit in one room and they don't do anything. I think he should like introduce sports into his podcast. He should do like ping pong and billiards.
No, but really the billiard thing was you chose it also for these cinematic reasons or just for?
No, I chose it so it's not so boring.
Yeah.
It's like less boring because there's something going on. You can focus your attention.
And then they're walking the same.
Yeah, like they're walking somewhere. Where are they walking? Why is it dark? But it was unplanned actually. It was supposed to be lit.
And what happened?
I don't know.
I mean, it was not.
Yeah, it was lit like 2 days before, but then there were no lights in the courtyard when we were working. So, like, maybe there's like color correction, and you can just change the contrast, but I don't know how to do it, so there's no color correction in the film. It's just.
But there is a bit of color correction. There is a bit, or it was preset.
No, it's just from the iPhone.
Just from the iPhone. It didn't touch the.
Maybe Julia, she's
I think
camera woman. I don't know, but it also looks bad because it's shot on the white lens of iPhone.
Why is it on the white lens?
Oh, because it's otherwise it would be hard to capture both me and Volga when we were playing because it's not so much light. But the quality is lower on the white lens of iPhone. So any young filmmakers in the room, a piece of advice: use another lens. Better quality. This one is like nominally full HD, but it's actually a bit noisy.
Yeah, but it looks much more beautiful like that.
Oh, you think so?
I think so.
Thank you. But no, I'm sorry. It feels like I'm being a little bit like facetious, but I don't know. I mean, I did try to make it like more cinematic, I guess, because like I thought maybe otherwise you can just release it on without the video. It's crazy because like when Joe Rogan signed the contract with Spotify, they had to develop, the software engineers had to develop the video function on Spotify because Joe Rogan was like, no, we need the video. And they introduced the video on Spotify, and to this day, like the only videos on Spotify are Joe Rogan podcasts. But like, why can't they just release the audio? Who's looking at this? It's like so boring. Nothing, literally nothing is happening.
But in your film, it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's much more boring the discussion than the images sometimes. So I think it's a fair.
You think it's a boring discussion?
No. Sometimes the images it's much more interesting than the talk, and sometimes vice versa. So I think it's a perfect combination for me. I don't know.
That's unintentional.
Yeah, but it's.
I thought the discussion would be.
But tell me,
I wanted to discuss like everything about like life in like. And I run out of like topics to talk about. Maybe like I'm not so knowledgeable about the world because each guest Joe Rogan has, they discuss something for like 4 hours and they discuss everything. But they have like very like successful and smart guests like Elon
Well,
Musk.
it's very smart. So maybe when you be a little bit older, you can make a follow-up of 4 hours long.
Yeah.
But tell me something about the camera. Did you tell Julia Shatun how to shoot? It was just her doing as she wanted?
Well, I actually did give her one direction. I said to her when we were in the billiards to shoot it more like, I guess, like be closer to us. Like, so there's like some kind of intimacy. To like fly around us like an annoying fly. That's what I said, like you're like an insect flying around. But then outside I told her to maybe give us some space and maybe like film the architecture so that we kind of get lost between like the buildings. So that's what I told her.
Is it true that the idea came from that film about Minsk protests?
Oh,
somehow?
I mean, yeah, I can tell you how I developed the idea, because I wanted to do like a first date movie for years, and like 10 years ago already. And so I tried several, like, because the first date, it's so interesting. People get to know each other, and like people open up and they talk about themselves and their life. It's almost like their whole lives are compressed in this discussion, because you have to, like, I don't know, get to know the other person, and the other person has to get to know you. And so it's like a magical moment, the first date. And so I was like, okay, so maybe I can set up a first date between like my random friends. So I had like 2 friends, and I told them, go to this pizzeria, and I put like a laptop on the table, so like it's not so intrusive, and I turned on the webcam on the laptop and recorded their first date. But it was very boring, because there was no like chemistry between them, and they just ate pizza, and the guy showed some like magic tricks, and the audio was also bad. But I have this footage, but I never released it. I was like, oh, it's too boring. And the camera is static, just a web camera from the laptop. Then I was like, okay, maybe it has to be a real first date. So everyone, like some of my friends would like broke up with their like boyfriends and girlfriends, and so I would tell them, oh, that's great news. Soon you will go on dates. You're single now. So if you go on a date, let's capture it for like future generations of your family. It will be a very special movie. Let's do it. But somehow they would not like tell me if they go on first date. I would find out like a month later if they have a new boyfriend or girlfriend. Like I literally, to everyone, it didn't matter to me like which person, if it's like straight or gay, it doesn't matter. I wanted to record one first date, but I didn't manage it. And then, like years later, I was like, no, I have to do this idea. I cannot let go of this idea. I have to do it. And I was like, oh, maybe I have to do it myself, because nobody agrees to do it. Maybe I have to install Tinder and go on dates. But I tried to look at like girls at Tinder, but they're all like more boring than my girlfriend, now my wife, Volga. And so I thought, oh, maybe probably the only way to do it is with Volga. But Volga we've been together for like many years. How can it be a first date? And then I thought, oh, but it's like cinema. Anything is possible. You can. There are like aliens in cinema, and like magic, Harry Potter, and so anything is possible in cinema. That's how I came up with this idea. And also and I wanted to call, maybe I don't know what I wanted to call the movie, but I wanted it to be maybe about Minsk. What if I want to call the movie Minsk? But the crazy thing is, some Russian guy, Boris Gutsky, made a movie called Minsk that he filmed in Tallinn. It's not Minsk, it's fake. But I'm a bit hypocritical here, because maybe it's like the movie magic. Maybe you can create Minsk in Tallinn, but I guess there's like limits to movie magic. Maybe this is not possible to create Minsk in Tallinn. But his movie was made in one take. I was like, no, now I have to make my movie in one take. So, because it's like, no, it's like a rap beef. You have to respond to, but yeah, sorry, it was a long answer, but that's basically the story of creation of this film.
What do you think of Richard Linklater's films with dates?
Oh, they're very good, amazing movies. Before Sunrise and Before Sunset.
Because I like yours much more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But, I mean, I like his movies because they talk about like interesting stuff, like pop philosophy and pop culture, and they like know these interesting quotes by thinkers.
Yeah.
And so no, but these days there is a lot of like romantic movies where they don't talk about interesting stuff. They just talk about their relationship. for example, I watched this movie called, maybe it's just me, because this movie was nominated for an Oscar. It was called Past Lives. It's a romantic drama. Has anyone seen it?
Yes.
By Celine Song. Yeah, but they only talk about their relationship. And it's all about their relationship, and they don't have any interest in philosophical discussions. And
They have about the past lives.
no, it's not interesting. Oh, you've seen it?
I've seen it.
Oh, so you like
I
it?
was in the jury in Berlin, and I struggle against it very much.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, they have this little, by the fire, you mean, they talk about all, like in Asian or like Korean philosophy, maybe we've met in past lives. And that's the whole philosophical aspect of this movie.
Something.
Okay,
So if there's anybody who wants to ask,
But I mean,
there's someone with a microphone, right? That, or
yeah.
no?
Okay,
I
I'll
go.
just finish the thought. The thought was
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
maybe if they even talk about like American politics, like who they voted for in the elections.
Yeah.
Maybe that's already interesting. For me, I mean, maybe people like this kind of. Like I like
Because you don't have elections in Belarus.
no, I mean,
For us, it's very boring.
I think it's boring the election politics. But we talk about like stuff that's like kind of about what's going on in the country. But in America, there's a lot of things going on. But in past lives, they don't discuss it.
Because of the Korean connection. So can I go to the
But even
first?
in Korea, there was also some like scandal, no? About something. I don't know anything about news. But in Korea, they have.
So I go to this gentleman.
There is a war in Korea between the south and the north.
Hi, thank you for the film. It was really, really lovely. Really enjoyed it. I have a question regarding the thing you said toward the end of the film in your fictional version, and now, about Minsk having to be there, and now you've been basically exiled. You're no longer able to be in your own country. How do you feel about that, and how does that engage with the message you had in the film and here? About
No, I can go to Belarus, but I have to leave outside of Belarus if I want to stay with Volga, because Volga has to live outside of Belarus because of the tax reasons, because of her employer, because her employer had to change countries because of the sanctions after the full-scale invasion. It's very complicated. But the point is I was not exiled. The protests in Belarus were not against me. If they were against me, then I was exiled. But they were protesting about something else, not about me. So it has nothing to do with me.
I also have a follow-up. I found it interesting that you mentioned Lukashenko in the film, and so you can still make films in Belarus despite, hinting at his oppression in the film.
Oh, but I don't think he knows about it. I mean, if someone messages him, who knows what he'll respond with. But so I don't know. He's the main guy, so he has a lot of power, and so it's hard to predict how he can use this power if he doesn't like something. But in my case, the cool thing is that he just doesn't know about my existence. So it's fine. Doesn't matter. But I didn't say anything bad about him. No. Did I say something bad?
It was hinted.
It was hinted. Oh, it's like wink, wink. Lukashenko. No. I mean, I'm a very weak and cowardly person. So everyone who has power over me, like Biden, Lukashenko, anyone. Who is the president of Romania? Iohannis, they're like gods to me. So I do everything they say, like Putin, Zelensky, and everyone, Roseda, etc. Everyone, I you're my gods. These big guys. I don't. They're the main guys, right? No. But anyone who has power over me, I submit to them. That's my philosophy in life. No, but the point I'm trying to make is that you can say no, I don't like listen to the power, but you still are under the power. That's I guess my point. I don't know what I'm saying actually, but to answer your question whether you can make a movie like this or not, it's like who knows? It's risky maybe. So like if someone like does a cool parkour, you know, like jumps from like one rooftop to another, and you're like, oh, so you actually can do that. Well, try and repeat it. We'll see what happens. Here's the parkour master, not some, you know.
Okay, so
Thank you.
somebody else.
Thank you for me.
Another question? Take Steve left.
Hi, I'm here.
Hello.
Yeah, I enjoyed your movie very much. I just have a question about how you see yourself as an artist. 'Cause, I see that you see what you do as similar to TikTok films, or you know, from what you're saying, the value of your work is kind of similar to what other like YouTube or TikTok things are out there. And I'm just curious, like you have to believe that your work is something different. Like you do something else that has value. So I wonder like how you would define that particular value. Like what's so special about your work?
I mean, no, I don't think that my work is more special. Like unironically, like someone who has, I don't know, like a Twitch streamer who has tens of thousands of viewers, clearly their work has more value than mine because they generate a lot of entertainment man hours of like people are being entertained by what they do. And I only have like, this movie has probably been seen by like 2,000 people or something. And this is like the biggest screen, so I don't know how to assign a value to a piece of media or like to a piece of art. So like how many people have enjoyed it, I guess, and how many like hours of enjoyment each one got out of it. So, but maybe like also some enjoyment can be deeper than other. Maybe that's like value, but I don't know how to answer your question. It's hard for me to calculate the value of this film, but it's definitely not as high as like good like TikTokers or Twitch streamers or stuff like that. And definitely most of the viewers of this film have come or will come from like the internet. So that's why I compare myself against other entertainers on the internet, because ultimately that's like who I'm competing against. Because a person on the internet has the choice. Does he want to like see a stream or like I don't know, some guy playing some video games and trying to like do speed runs, or do they want to watch like this movie? So did I answer your question, or did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, you did. I still think that you do this because what you see in your work, and you know, like the fact that we're here, you know, like you have a room full of people who are interested in whatever, in art, movies. So there is something that we call value and you call value. But I wonder, like, how you think about that, because it doesn't feel to me that at this point that you say that value has only comes only from the pleasure of the audience, but I think there is something else about value in what you think you're doing. Like you're not spelling it out.
No, I'm doing it only for this reason, for like to get attention from viewers online and to get subscribers. But so far it's not very successful, unfortunately. I only have like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So.
By the way, you can see most of his other films on his.
Oh, and this one too. This one is also on YouTube.
This one also.
So, and I upload all of them to YouTube. So I do them on YouTube. It's a great website. Yeah, because there are so many movies and different interesting stuff. Thank you, Sergey Brin. He's great at YouTube. It's Russian. Anyway, it's also the creator of Google. Have you ever tried that? You can enter something like dogs, and there are like pictures of dogs. That's already entertainment. Like internet is amazing. So like before YouTube, people had to like get out from bed and go outside and pay money and sit in some stupid room on some like uncomfortable chairs and look at some screen, and they would show them dogs. Like you know this movie, Beethoven, about the dog. And people would literally go out of the houses to go to some room and watch dogs. And now they can lie in bed, take their phone, and insert dogs. Now you just watch dogs at home. And so that's why I think it's amazing that the entertainment is so reachable now for everyone. Did I answer your question or did I misunderstand?
Okay, maybe someone else?
Okay. Oh, there's more questions. So many questions.
Hi. First of all, I have to admit it was a unique experience for me, this film. I think it's the only film that managed to make me feel like I'm actually thoroughly in the date. So it felt very intimate and it felt very, very real. So circling back to something that I think Radu Jude asked earlier, how much of the discussion was improvised, and also referring to what you said about Joe Rogan, I think Joe Rogan does pinpoint certain topics to be addressed during the discussion. Have you pinpointed any topics like, okay, in this discussion we have to remember certain memories from our past together and so on, or was it just improvised?
I mean, interesting comparison with Joe Rogan. And I have to use that to answer your question. I'll use that if you don't mind. And yeah, I think maybe it's similar in the sense that it's Joe Rogan who's like directing the conversation in a certain way. But I think I directed it even less than Joe Rogan. Like maybe I tried to kind of change the direction of conversation into certain topics, but I tried not to do it too much. So. And definitely I didn't discuss like the topics with Volga before we started. So for her it was just a conversation. And for me it was like yeah, maybe I tried to remember what I want to say. But I do that in real life too, you know. If I like, if I sit like at a cafe, we were just sitting with Radu at the cafe, and I was like thinking, oh, I have to mention this thing, and I came up with the thing, and I was trying not to forget to mention it. And it was something stupid, I don't remember it now, but I was like looking for a chance to say that. Don't remember. But nonsense. But I'll remember it later.
There was another question here, I think.
Yeah, hello. I also have a question. Firstly, дякую, что приехали. Делим нечеканно приемно вас побачить.
Дякую
And
вам,
secondly, так трималося. And secondly, is a question at the very beginning of the.
Can you say it in English? What was
Yeah, I'm from Minsk as well, and I just thanked for coming. It's kind of very unexpected for me to see those in film here in Bucharest. Not many things those and things are happening here. Yeah, the question was at the beginning of the film. Your character was asked about what you were doing. You said that you were doing movies for festivals. You reserve movies for festivals, and that was kind of a bit curious for me. But the topic wasn't continued, so the question is maybe you defined it somehow differently. What exactly did you mean by saying that you're doing these movies for festivals? Because even from my experience of coming to festivals here and in other countries, I mean, these movies are still like not necessarily like those conventional kino or something, but they're still different from what Marvel's doing or Avatar or whatever. So.
Oh, do you think this movie is different? No, it's actually very similar to Avatar. No. I don't know in what way, but probably. No, but like I probably say like my character probably says it just because I just didn't want to. I just wanted to say that these are movies that you probably haven't heard of and nobody has seen. So that's what I mean by movies for festivals. And Marvel movies, a lot of people have seen in Avatar 2 and Part 1 too. So yeah, Marvel movies are different, I guess. But there have been some Marvel movies at film festivals. That's a paradox. Black Panther, the French premiere was in Cannes, Cinema de la Plage, what's it called? The program where they watch movies at the beach. So, X-Men Part 3 by Brett Ratner, also world premiere at Cannes Film Festival. Interesting fact. Do you know that both parts of Shrek were in Cannes competition? And there have only been like 5 animated movies in the 21st century in Cannes competition. 2 parts of Shrek, both with Bashir, and now there's the new Hazanavicius film, and the what's it called? An adaptation of like comic book about this like Iranian woman. Persepolis. Oh yeah. So these are the 5 animated movies that were in.
I must say that Nikita is also not only a nerdy with a nerdy knowledge about cinema, but he has a passion, for putting things on IMDb.
Oh yeah.
Like forgotten things or.
Yeah, I've added like 600 movies to IMDb. Like I've seen maybe like 6,000 movies, but a tenth of them were not on IMDb. I've added like 20 David Lynch movies on IMDb, like his short films from his website from 2000 and stuff like that. So I got like.
And the TikTok of Scorsese's daughter, right?
Oh yeah, I added the Muse. It's a masterpiece. It's a TikTok by Francesca Scorsese starring Martin Scorsese, where he auditions the dog Oscar. It's called the name of the dog is Oscar. He auditions the dog to be the star of his next film. It's a great movie. I edited it on IMDb. And so that's proof that TikTok is cinema. No, but actually recently Scorsese said that himself. I think in Berlinale he said that TikTok is cinema. Maybe he just wanted to like support his daughter. But anyway, I think yeah, I have a very like mathematical way of thinking. Also like about the value question. I thought like it's like it's hard not to think about this mathematically, and yeah. And so when you say like you do this opposition between festivals and Marvel, and I already think, oh, but is there an opposition? Because Marvel movies are at festivals. Logan with Hugh Jackman was in Berlinale, world premiere. it's a Marvel movie. And so I don't know, like, to answer your question, I don't know what's the difference between festival movies and other movies. I guess any kind of movie can be at film festivals. But in the context of the conversation in the film, I just meant that it's movies that nobody has seen. Which is clearly not the case with Shrek and Logan. There are sometimes good movies in festivals too.
Thanks.
Another question?
Hello, and thank you for making this movie. It's quite different from what I think we all are used to see. My question is about the details that are observed in the movie. So in the movie it looks like there are two people that don't know each other and try to find some common subjects, but then it was a scene in the darkness. It looked a bit creepy, and my question was
He looked creepy.
no, the scene.
Because of
Yeah,
him?
it's in the dark. Was there a meaning behind the fact that we were all two working behind them?
Oh, were they working behind him?
Yes, because you kept mentioning that.
Probably the path was too narrow for us to walk beside each other.
No, but I think she has a point because at some point you look like a dangerous, a potentially dangerous. You look like a potentially dangerous guy. I mean, the fictional version of yourself. I mean. So I think that this is the question.
Definitely wasn't like planned, but I do like horror movies. Like half of my movies can be considered horror movies, and well, there's always danger. You shouldn't relax. You know, like you have like a metro here in Bucharest, right? And if you just stand waiting for the train, don't you feel danger that some crazy person can push you before the train? And no.
It even happened a few years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the woman.
Oh wow, crazy. But so just from a physical point of view, another human being can pose a danger, and especially like a man to a woman in the darkness.
Maybe
So-
I thought it was built because at some point you tell these stories when your character was violent to a woman, so maybe this creates a kind of expectations.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's probably not everyone's interpretation of the darkness in the movie. That's not mine.
And for your fans like me, we also think of Belarusian Psycho, where you basically kill 3 women because they don't sleep with you, with your character. So
Yeah, but
so maybe there's something there.
well, it's not a sequel.
Okay, so we have time, I think, for one more question. If there is one. If not, I ask you if you can tell me about your new film that you basically finished.
My new film is called Ulysses, and it's based on the novel by James Joyce, and it's 10 hours long. It takes place in Minsk. So yeah, that's basically all I can say about it. And hopefully I will release it soon, but I'm just trying to make some people watch it at least. So
Is it
far,
one take?
not many people have seen it, even among my friends. So it's hard for me even to say whether it's like whether it's a movie or not just like something like random crazy stuff. So
Is it a found footage film? Is only with archive materials or internet materials?
I don't know what to say,
Okay.
but there's like some modern technology involved in the making of this film.
What kind of? If you can.
I don't know. I don't want to reveal too much, but it's not AI generated. If you thought that, it's not that. And yeah, so hopefully it will be released at some point in the future. But I already think about like other projects. I don't know, like I'm currently writing like a second, I made like a comic book before and I'm writing like a second comic book. Also I want to do like video essays about Belarusian cinema, because on YouTube there are no video essays about Belarusian cinema. And I try to do like different stuff. And I'm already like bored of that project and previous projects. So I don't know. So I kind of like switch the projects. Like you know, they say like Leonardo da Vinci. Oh, he was like a man of a Renaissance man. Have you heard that before? But I think he was like me. He had ADHD.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nikita.
See you
Some other time, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully. Thank you once again for having me. This was my dream for a long time to show like a movie in Romania, in Bucharest. It's like one of the capitals of cinema. And no, but like there's so many great directors from Romania and Radu Jude, Christy, you, and you know others. No, and so it's a big honor to. Have they been in this?
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess so. I don't know.
They don't have the portraits. They have a Emil Kusturica portrait.
It's a slow development.
But has Kusturica been in the theater?
No. I don't know. No. He was in the big hall of where Ceausescu held his congress of the party.
Oh, so he was friends with Ceausescu too?
That was after, but he had
no,
the
but
concert.
didn't he win like Pound Draw when Ceausescu was still in power?
Yeah, but he was not coming here.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, sorry. It's good. It's not
Okay.
friends with Ceausescu. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Flavia, for filming it.
I'll keep on filming for a while,
Oh, okay.
with your permission.
If there's still,
Monsieur Metteur en scène.
if there's still memory and battery.
38 minutes. You will either enjoy this or hate this, I believe.
Oh, okay. Avant-garde? That's fine.
I was expressing my creativity. Yes.
Yeah, this is the way to do it.
Da. Nu, deci o... Pe lângă Gigi s-au cerut autografe să filmăm. Nu, n-ai idee ce a fost aici. Da. Da, da, da. Bine.
I-am trimis.
Una bobiță. Ce este asta?
Ai spus că dorești așa ceva, nu? Deci m-am gândit și ți l-am procurat.
Mulțumesc din suflet. Ui. O să fim... Ilinka, look. International superstar Ilinka Bobița, do you have a message for Nikita Lavretski and his 1,000 YouTube subscribers?
I love it. Get bigger and bigger.
And now in the persona of...
Good job. Blow job.
Te pup, Doamne! Din suflet! Ia să mai... Ia, stai că revin imediat.
Oh, I can give you. Oh no, I cannot. I thought maybe I had like a postcard supposed to. I don't have it.
Don't read it, I can
I don't like to repeat.
Thank you very much.
Yes. From Ilinka, did you see her in here?
Yeah, the link is right here. Can I stand next to
Yes, of course.
Just film us. I'll do a screenshot. So very do you always have it with you?
No, actually.
But it's interesting because it's like official.
It's from Amsterdam. It's
Can you buy one of this online?
No. It was like a promo thing on the stairs, on the chairs, cinema.
Very cool.
Yeah. It's a good idea. It's hers.
Oh,
it's a gift.
hers.
Yes, but look, I can do the ultimate. No, I think he would enjoy it very much, actually. Now, you know, after seeing him in Le Mépris, I think he would really. I think he would be a fan, right?
Le Mépris by Godard, yeah.
Yeah.
With Fritz Lang.
No, and you can think of Ilinka as Brigitte Bardot. I could see her sitting down in the same cinema together with Fritz Lang watching a film, no? Maybe it's the moment to cut the recording, no?
I don't know.